Welcome to Going the Distance, the Rocky Series podcast. We have all three hosts here today, Katie and Kyle. Katie, how are you doing?
Good, busy. A couple more days and I'll be on the road or on the air. It's just been a very busy week.
Well, we appreciate you taking time today out of your busy schedule to get ready and joining the podcast. Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I had a pretty good week this week. I'm excited to podcast with you guys.
How your week's been?
Oh, I'm enjoying my leave off work. I've still got like just under 5 weeks left of paid leave. It's great. I podcast, edit, of course, with my family, helping with chores and appointments, and just giving Becky a break as much as I can while I can. If you're listening to this in our Discord, we welcome you. We have 3 listeners in our Discord. We've got Louise, Melissa, and Donald. So our regulars are here. I will say it 100 times. We definitely have enough listeners to get people in the Discord chat. And granted, you have to come when we're actually live. People are busy. It's Friday night. We're just a couple, ham and eggers. Who's gonna hang out with us on a Friday night? But anyways, we welcome those that are hanging out with us live. It's really kind of cool because you guys, I'm sure, throughout this discussion will chime in and we bounce off your ideas and your thoughts while we record, and that makes the show on iTunes and stuff. So it's cool having you guys. So welcome. All right. Well, no emails. We actually can just start rolling into the film, if you can believe it.
I can believe it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm kind of surprised. I got the feeling Greg the First doesn't listen to us anymore because I've purposely have called him out. Not in a bad way, but just like, hey, Greg, we missed you, because he always has great emails and he always has great insight, but I think he gave up on our show.
Uh-oh. With all of our downer talk about...
We're pretty brutal about Adonis, since he might have got tired of it. That's fine. I understand that. I do have something to run by you guys. How would you feel about rolling into Rambo sooner than later and alternate between the two shows? Meaning, like, 1 week we could do Rambo, the next week we would do Creed, that kind of thing.
I'm indifferent.
Kyle, do you want to do Rambo? I hope you're...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of do because I have only seen the first 2.
Right.
It's been quite some time I've seen them. So it's not quite a brand new experience.
And it would be the exact same way we're doing it now. We'd play the film and we'll talk about... Which brings me to another question to you guys. I did a recording with Jared Talkstein of the Hyperspace Podcast. We reviewed Burt Reynolds' movie Heat. It came out on the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network under the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast channel, if you want to say. So check it out. It's a really great review of the movie Heat starring Burt Reynolds from 1986. Well, he's been a fan of our show since we were covering Rocky 3. He's listened to every episode. He loves our podcast, and he's a podcaster himself. He's one of, I think, of our many listeners who want us to revisit with you guys, Kyle and Katie, back to the Rocky 1 and forward again. It's kind of like where Katie and you, Kyle, joined the show. So I guess like Rockies 1 through 5.
Well, I wasn't part of the show at that time, so I would love it just because I like those better.
He actually wanted to say, too, that he thinks, as a listener of our show, he thinks we've really hit our stride content-wise or flow-wise when we started doing what we're doing right now, playing the movie, talking about it. He enjoys it. Maybe not everybody, but as a podcaster himself, he's enjoyed our coverage, and he kind of wants us to maybe reinvestigate that way of doing it with the earlier films with you guys in tow. Things to think about. Let that stew in your brain a little bit, especially when you're on vacation, because I know, Katie, while you're on vacation, you're just going to... All you're going to do is think about our podcast while you're on vacation.
Yep.
Soak your head, kid. Soaking good.
Yeah, soak your head, Kate. Soaking good.
What a depressing vacation.
Yeah. Make sure you bring your comics. They're good for fertility.
I don't want any fertility.
Okay, let's do it. Let's rock and roll here. So basically what's happened here is Rocky's been told by Marianne, this is for Kyle because he wasn't here last week in particular, via letter with a picture of a baby that's coming that, hey, Adonis needs you. And our theory on that was not just that Adonis needs you because he has a baby, but because he's got a baby, whether you agree with his fighting or not, he's going to fight, and I'd rather you were in his corner so he's there for his baby in the future. That's kind of what we feel like is the reason why Rocky has agreed to kind of return to Adonis' corner. So it wasn't a revenge or let's get the belt back, but just like, okay, if this guy's going to continue fighting regardless, Marianne at least wants Rocky to be there because she thinks he's the best for Adonis.
I think so. Plus, I imagine Rocky probably has some guilt still about what happened with Apollo, and that interfered a bit. That had some influence on his decision not to do that with Adonis. Probably Marianne represents that guilt. It was her husband that was lost. And so it's like once Marianne kind of gives her blessing there, that kind of removes that obstacle out of the way. That's in addition to what you said. I do agree that Rocky's doing it more for Adonis as a person rather than... I don't think the title and all that stuff really matters to Rocky so much anymore.
Just Adonis' safety.
Yeah, and I think he feels bad for him. Like, he sees what he's going through there, and he wants to help him.
All right, so what we got here is we got Adonis driving up to, I guess, Marianne's mansion. Boy, what's the word? Palatial?
Palatial.
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 Look at this thing.
They said palatial about Paulo's box at training camp or whatnot, right?
Yes, his palatial gym.
Yeah.
Hey, Ma. Ma.
So it's the same house or the same foyer, anyways, from the first Creed film.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ma.
How you doing, kid?
What are you doing here?
I hope you don't mind your mom asked if I would come out, because she's worried about you. I am too.
I'm good. You ain't even have to come all this way.
By train. 3 days on the train. That's all right, give you time to think, and you watch all these places whipping by the windows like postcards. It's quite an experience.
I love that Rocky took the train. This is actually a reference to his real life Rocky 1 experience. He, I guess, couldn't afford a plane ticket from LA to Philly and took the train from there. He does actually have that experience of going cross country by train. And he says his dog Butkus didn't make the whole trip. And then when he got to Philly, just unloaded this huge mess. Sorry if that's gross or TMI.
That's fine. No, that's fine.
Oh, you said Rocky, but I was confused. I'm like, wait, did I miss something? Sylvester, I caught on after you said.
I kind of conflate the two. Like
We all do. We've done it so many times on this show. Yeah.
It just seems like something Rocky would do as a character. Would be to take the train. And I really loved how he said that places just go by like postcards. Like, that's such a weird thing to say. But also, like, it's kind of a cute Rocky-ism. Like, it was just really in line with this character. I thought that was really well done.
I had forgotten about, not the train, but he says it took him 3 days. Yeah, I had forgotten that it had taken him 3 days and that he calls that out. It's never explained why, what the issue with flying, like why wouldn't he fly?
Yeah, I don't think we're led to believe that Rocky's opposed to flying because, of course, he flew to Russia and he got off the plane in Rocky 5. Maybe just money. Like, flights aren't, they're not that crazy.
No. Taking the train across the country is way more expensive than flying. Considerably more expensive. Amtrak is not cheap. The only routes in Amtrak that are like half easily priced are the Northeast Corridor routes. That's an old man thing to do, is to take the train and to kind of see the scenery, and you have nothing else to do, right?
That's true.
I know he's probably running his restaurant, but
maybe that's what it was. Maybe just collect his thoughts, not to rush there. Maybe he just wanted the time to think. People on our Discord are agreeing that trains would be more expensive, so maybe he just wanted time to think.
Have you guys taken the train somewhat far away?
Not far.
Like a day?
I've taken Amtrak before. I went from New York to Philly, and then from Philly to DC, and then back to New York by train. And then I also did a day trip from Boston to New York by train too. And it was really cool. It's just different than flying. It's kind of like you take this journey. It's way more comfortable. Like, you have a better seat, and the train experience is just way, way better and different than the flying experience.
Agreed.
Those were short train rides that aren't that expensive. But yeah, that cross-country one is pretty brutal. And then I took the train when I lived in England too, because that's pretty common.
Oh, nice.
I've never done like cross-country or anything.
Donald in our chat said that 3 days sounds about right from DC to Vegas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you say so.
Yeah, it was nice. This is wonderful. How you have all this out here. You could have the same.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
So what he's referring to here for our listeners is that Rocky's looking, of course, at the Apollo spread of trophies and awards and all that kind of stuff. He then says to Adonis, you could have the same thing. You could have a mini museum in your name, which I found was kind of interesting that Rocky would lead with that. With, you could have glory too like this. You could have a legacy like this as well.
Trying to butter him up, maybe.
Adonis has always kind of lived in his dad's shadow. And so I think it's hard for him to become the champ and then lose it on his first title defense. Everyone will just say, oh, he's just a flash in the pan. He's nothing like his old man. And this is Rocky's way of kind of saying, you could be like your dad. Not just a champion, not just someone who said, oh, my claim to fame is that I got the title, but to become like one of the greats in boxing.
And he's about to say here, Rocky is about to say, I mean, not just the shiny stuff. So there you go. He's going to give us a bit of probably a metaphor, some sort of wisdom here, beyond just the trophy. So let's check it out.
I mean, not just the shiny stuff, but the better stuff. Live a better life. Be a better man. You know, I was thinking about what you were saying about what smart decisions have I made lately. Didn't take a million. You know, I wasn't even there when my son's grandson, was born. He's like that tall now, probably, and I don't even know him. He doesn't know me.
I don't think this is what's the word I'm looking for? A fake way of opening up to Adonis, because he's exposing his own weaknesses here, exposing his own failures as a man. He does know Adonis feels like a failure, that he feels like a future failure to his kids. So Rocky's kind of saying, look, I'm a failure too. I've failed my son. I wasn't there for my grandson's birth. We don't know each other. But I kind of wish we heard or got an indication as to why they're so distant, that he hasn't even spoken to his grandson, like over Skype or phone calls or nothing.
Yeah, that is weird, because you don't get the impression from Rocky Balboa or the Creed movie. He wasn't in the Creed movie, the son, but you get the impression from Rocky Balboa that their relationship was bad. In fact, it seemed to have improved when his son quit his job and was training with him, and his son got to connect with him there. Rocky certainly has the resources and time to come out and see his son, and his son probably could come home to Philly once in a while.
We've mentioned this before, that it does cut both ways, that Robert, why isn't he reaching out? Why isn't he just saying, look, we got to stop this, Dad. Let's have a relationship. So I don't know what's going on here.
People go crazy over grandkids. Grandkids are like the dividends of having kids. You get all the cool kid stuff without like the bullshit of being a parent. Giving that up, that's insane.
That's true. I've told my kids, no rush. No rush giving me grandkids.
I don't know if Rocky had a lot of the bullshit of parenting since they had help.
Yeah, the robot.
I'm sure he did, because it's like there's a lot of the bullshit that you don't get help with, like when they're teenagers and they go through their rebellious phase and you know, they don't think you know anything.
When they wear boxing glove earrings and...
Oh, that's right.
You're the daughter I always wanted.
They mended their relationship. That's how Rocky Balboa ended. So, yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah. My theory is someone who has zero training in psychology whatsoever. I think Rocky has not a lot of emotional depth. I think you have to be raised with that. You have to be modeled with that. And I think he, instead of facing a lot of his emotions, he probably is just doing avoidance strategies. He probably gets the urge to call, but then it brings up a lot of feelings. So he's like, okay, I'll just call tomorrow. And then tomorrow doesn't come.
Well, we've seen that a couple times where he has picked up the phone and he doesn't follow through. Well, it's like anything. If you haven't talked to someone in so long and then you start talking with them, it's like, this is awkward. You know, we haven't talked. So you just kind of delay never speaking again by not speaking again because it just gets more and more awkward.
I got to step out for a second, guys. My dog's freaking out.
Yeah. No worries. We'll continue.
Oh, this is not related. The reason it made me laugh was because, you know, it's like a shtick on TV shows. But even in like real life, you meet someone like on a TV show and you think their name is something else. And then you learn their correct name. And then like too much time has passed to like correct it. So you just leave it be.
Yeah, it's either you've said the wrong name this whole time or you don't know their name, so you never say their name.
And then it's too late to be like, hi, I'm so-and-so. What's your name?
And I have done that.
Speaking of kid bullshit, I just locked my kid out of the house.
There you go.
By accident. My 8-year-old daughter.
Oh, my God.
Well, she won't give you any grandkids if you keep that up.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries. We got some good comments here from Melissa. Melissa says Rocky's just sweet here as always, but yes, it does bother her that he has a bad relationship with Robert. And then Louise says that Rocky is the most endearing, crappy dad of all time.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yep.
That's great. Louise he's always great with those comments, boy. He should podcast. He knows about these things. What's that, Katie?
No, Melissa's like He is really sweet here. I also love, it's very Rocky-esque.
Why won't you just call him?
Ain't that easy, you know. Listen,
So Adonis asks a very fair question, what we just talked about. Why don't you just call him?
Yeah.
And our theory was, of course, that once you've waited so long, it just gets harder and harder.
And when you do call, you almost kind of have to explain why you haven't called for so long. And then it's like a vicious cycle. The problem just keeps getting worse and worse. But what you really have to do is just swallow your pride and call and just say, hey, look, I should have called. I fucked up. You know, I'd like to have a relationship if you're cool with that. You know, like I care about you. I care about whoever the grandkid is. Make sure you know his name, though. That's important.
Do you remember his name?
I don't.
Do you remember, Katie? Logan, yeah.
Logan, yeah.
Which is great. I have a son named Logan, so
Wolverine's Canadian, and his name's Logan.
that's true. Well, actually, we named our son after Wolverine.
Did you really?
Yeah, for real. With my ex-wife and I, we were in the theater watching the first X-Men in 2000. My son was born in 2000. I didn't know Wolverine's name was Logan, and I was like, oh, this guy's really cool. Like, I never knew Hugh Jackman. It was my first time seeing him on the screen, and I thought he was really cool, and I thought his character was cool, and like, yeah, I like that name Logan. And so let's name our son Logan. That's kind of what it was. It was exactly that.
I didn't even know that the Wolverine's name was Logan.
Yeah. So that's how we named our son Logan. And I've mentioned before that my youngest son's middle name is Stallone.
Yeah. Love
Get the
it.
fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's dedication, man. That's dedication.
Grayson, yeah, it's Grayson Stallone. I love it. I think it sounds great.
I do too. I like it as well.
I don't want you making the same mistakes I made. You know what I mean? So you gotta ask yourself, what's the valuable stuff? It's like I asked you before. What were you really fighting for?
I was afraid of this. Expectations. Being a champ. I was scared I couldn't do what he couldn't. It's weird. I used to feel like he was a part of me. Now I can't hear him, or that thing that tells me to get in the ring, move my feet, keep my hands up, hit anything that gets in my way. Can't hear it anymore.
What's he lost? What's he lost, everybody?
We got money. We got cars.
But we don't have the truth. Well, granted, he's now saying the truth. He lost the eye of the tiger. I think that's what he's kind of alluding to. He says he doesn't hear the ring. He doesn't hear the voices in his head to get the fighter call or whatever you want, the warrior's call or whatever you want to. He doesn't hear it. He's
Repeating Rocky 3, essentially he says, I'm afraid, God damn it. You want to break me down?
What's he afraid of?
he would be afraid to do what his dad couldn't do. What was he referring to that?
He's afraid if you go in and fight and you don't get all this, it proves beyond a doubt that you actually aren't as good as your dad. If you don't fight, then there is some room for doubt there. There is some room like, well, maybe I could have. Maybe he could have. It's too afraid to face that reality of knowing for sure.
Have you, either of you, care about your parents' legacy? It's an odd thing. Like, I love my folks, but I've never once thought I got to live up to my dad. He's a great guy. He's a hard worker. I mean, I've never wanted to disappoint them as a normal son or relationship with my parents. I don't want to be a disappointment in general to anybody, let alone my parents or my spouse. So, but at the end of the day, I'm living up to my dad's legacy, and this is not offense to him. I don't have a legacy in the sense of, like, I'm not a superstar. So maybe, is this just something that the elite feel, the children of the elite?
Well, I think he's judged based on his dad all the time, right? Like, if you're a Creed, when your name's mentioned, it isn't you that's thought of first. It's your dad. It's for the well-known. Like, that's the measuring stick you're always measured against is your dad. That's a lot of pressure to be under. And I think there's also weird dad issues with him too, right? Like, his dad died, but then he was not a Creed for a while, and then he was taken in by Marianne and became one, and that was a weird transition, I'm sure. Like, he needs therapy, basically. And Rocky's got to be his therapist right now because he'll never go to see a real therapist. So he has to get the Rocky therapy.
I can only imagine, though. I mean, his dad was one of the most famous people ever. To some degree, though, if you choose the same path that your famous parent chose, it is what it is. That's part of the deal.
That's a good point, because I don't think, I would guess at least, that Creed's other children don't feel the need to live up to him the same way Adonis would.
Yeah, if they're like an accountant or something.
Yeah.
Donald brought up a good point. He said, if Adonis fails, he's also not as good as Rocky, so that fear is doubled.
Yeah.
Certain families it's like a boxing family. If your whole family is in a certain industry.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like for hockey. Wayne Gretzky and his brother hold the record for the most goals or points by a pair of NHL brothers. Wayne Gretzky's brother was in the NHL and recorded a total of 4 assists for 4 points in his career. But Wayne Gretzky's points were so high that it's the highest of any brother pair that's ever played.
There are a lot of brother pairs in American football that both are pretty well known, but can you imagine family gatherings? Like there's some pretty famous ones, like the Mannings, and then there were good. Whatever happened to the Barbers? Actually, I think one of them is a sportscaster now, but like Tiki and forget the other one's name, Barber. They were both real good looking. And I think one of them is a sportscaster now. Oh, and then the Williams sisters in tennis.
Yeah, and one of them was a little bit better than the other one. Serena, I think, is better. Yeah.
One of them kind of they can't be just perfectly equal, right? Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with competitive people, too. I'm actually not a super competitive person. For instance, if I play a game with someone and I lose, I don't like to lose. I would prefer to win.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's not a huge deal. The other people I play with, they get really upset if they lose. Like, they kind of have to win. Some people just have that competitive spirit where you really have to beat other people for whatever reason. It's just a drive within them. And I think Adonis has that, too. I don't think that's the main factor, but I think that probably aggravates things as well.
I don't even know how I lost.
Your mind wasn't right. And your natural style just won't work with a guy that big.
Rocky gave the 2 quick reasons here why Adonis lost. Now, granted, Rocky wasn't in his corner, but he's saying, first off, your mind wasn't right. It wasn't the right spot for this type of fight. It was all about the revenge and trying to, revenge your dad and all this stuff. That wasn't the right headspace. And then second, your style of fighting didn't match his. It's like paper, rock, scissors, right? In this sense, Victor was rock and he was scissors. Like scissors can do something against something else, but against the rock, you just got smashed.
And that's 100% true. In boxing, styles can make fights. Like, it's a real fallacy to say, like, I'll just use real life examples. George Foreman easily beats Ken Norton. Ken Norton has done well against Ali, therefore Foreman will do well against Ali. No, that's not how that works. Rocky would know this from experience because this was his exact same problem against Clubber Lang. His mind wasn't right in that fight, and his style of brawling and going toe-to-toe and being the tough guy does not work against someone like Clubber Lang.
Rocky knows about these things.
You're saying yours was better.
I won, didn't I?
Oh, they're making up. Oh, big hugs.
Good seeing you.
Great to see you, too. I was talking with your mother, and she says you came up with his name for the child,
Amara.
Amara.
Yeah. Why was wrong with that?
No, it's not. It's a beautiful name, but it's kind of complicated. Why don't you think about something, at least I would, a little simpler, say like Becky or Kate, something like that.
Kate Creed.
Kate Creed, 2 C's, easy to remember.
You do know she's going to be black, right?
Oh, that's right, I forgot. Okay.
Emma.
That's funny. That's a great little line there.
Yeah, that was a good Adonis line.
That was an excellent way of breaking all the tension from that last scene. Really good comic relief, and they had good chemistry together.
This is where Adonis now goes in full likable mode. Let's just be honest. I think from this point on in the film, there's going to be very little, if anything, to say about Adonis' character that we're not going to like.
Good point, Ryan.
We've seen them make up with Unc. They gave each other a hug. He smiled. For once, we saw Adonis smile. Look at that. He can smile.
Yeah.
We don't see that very often.
I like that Rocky says, well, I won, didn't I?
That's great.
And
that's great because he's always so humble. The sometimes he doesn't always tell. I don't want to say tells the truth, but he skirts it because he doesn't want to seem cocky. But even in this moment, he kind of was with Adonis because Adonis kind of needed to hear, "Hey, the truth is, I beat the father. I beat Drago."
I'd like to point out he shouldn't have.
Oh,
Like, I've mentioned this before, but Rocky's like, your style doesn't work against someone that big. Rocky's style with Drago was not like, it had no finesse or like with Lang. He had to fight more like Creed in order to kind of avoid those big punches. And also he kind of did a combination where he took a lot of punches and tired Kleber out. But then with Ivan Drago, he just became a superhuman and just took an insane amount of punishment and walked through it and just took it and took it and took it, and then was able to deliver just enough to beat Ivan. Like he was able to walk through enough punches and land some of his own, which was really not a lot different than what Adonis did with Victor. Like he just came straight at him too. It just died.
Adonis didn't train in the barn.
Yes, that's true.
So,
he didn't run up the mountain.
Yeah.
He didn't get like training in Siberia tough.
I think Katie might miss the training montage for this recording, I wonder. I know, with your being gone.
Well, that's okay. It's not Rocky. Like if it was the Rocky 4 training montage, well, one of the 4 of them,
Right.
then I'd be more distraught.
Where are you going again, Katie? I can't remember.
Tanzania.
All right. They have internet there, right?
Yeah. Poor Katie.
They do.
Pack your mic, pack your laptop, let's go.
Yeah, I know the time difference will be kind of messed up because they're probably 12 hours ahead of us or something, but we'll make it work.
No pressure.
No tigers. I would have to go to India for that, but I could get some lions, get the eye of the lion
There you go.
with me.
Yeah. Katie will defend the helpless gazelle against
right.
the lion from being eaten.
It stresses me out, though, because I want to root for both of them, and I don't know how to handle it. Mm-hmm.
They do it right, though, don't they? With the lion, it's the circle of life in nature, and that keeps everything in balance. It's not the same as like factory farming.
For sure, but it still hurts the poor gazelle.
Yeah, no, it's fucked up. Nature's fucked up. That's right.
Yeah.
Melissa says that LOL at Katie in the Rocky 4 training, he is hot in that.
So hot. So hot.
That scene where he does those leg lifts and he's laying down is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called. His abs. I'm just like, he looks good in that barn training.
And then Donald says that Rocky called the Drago fight the best fight of his life in Rocky 5. So dang right he's proud of winning that fight, he says.
As he should be. It was almost killed him.
Yeah, it almost killed him. A little bit of a tease here. I don't know. Just maybe actually I'll put this out. Send us an email. This is down the road. Probably do it a couple times. Send us an email or let us know on our socials. If we do the Rockies again with Katie and Kyle, especially Rocky 4, should we break down the director's cut or the original cut?
Original. Ask people what they want. Either would be fine.
In a way, we've done it already, the Rocky 4. Me and Ruben, at that point, we were pretty good with our groove. Granted, it wasn't you guys, but be interesting. Something to throw out there, yeah. Okay. Because we'd be the first podcast to do that, I think.
There you go.
So Adonis gets a call and says, mother, I guess. He goes, hey, Ma, yeah?
Right now?
Relax. Okay. Everything's gonna be fine.
All right, so they've gone to the hospital. Looks like in delivery, maybe. And Rocky's assuring Adonis that everything's going to be fine.
You just gotta be there for her, okay? That's your job.
I got you.
And remember,
Hey, time out.
today is
Yeah.
I realized Marianne is at the hospital with Bianca. Is this yet another scenario of person in the Rocky universe that does not have parents? Where's Bianca's mom?
Well, out of town, I guess. They're not geographically there. But she hasn't really spoken about her parents, has she? Or did she mention that first date in Creed they talked about the parents? I can't remember.
I don't think so. Yeah, this is a case where presumably she has parents, but never talks about them, ever.
I'm sure her mom would come, right?
The mom might be there later, which we don't see, granted. We don't see that. We have to assume she didn't come, I guess. But is this baby early or something? He seems real surprised that it's happening now. Usually if the mom's going to come, the mom will plan it around the due date to kind of be there. This is like a premature delivery or something. Mom may have missed that. And
I think Bianca's parents disowned her when she became deaf. And when she started singing.
When she started singing more, so no, I'm kidding.
Maybe
I'm
she'd be a
kidding.
good singer if she could hear herself. That's the key.
you did the best day of your life, right here. Right? Best day of your life.
Yeah. He says, best day of your life. Remember, he said, other than my kid being born, this is the greatest day in the history of my life.
If I was Adrian, which I am, obviously, I'd be like, what about our wedding day?
Wedding days are gong shows. They really are. Like,
Theirs was really sweet.
no, I mean in general, when people like wedding anniversary, yes, like the idea that I am married to, like, Becky and I just celebrated our 12-year anniversary in January. Yeah, of course, we remember our time together, all the journey we've made, but we don't look back at our wedding. Our wedding day is a nothing day. It was also a small ceremony. We just had close friends and family, but that's okay. But it wasn't a gala event. Even if it was, I don't know if I'd look back at this. I think people spend too much money and time on weddings. I think the journey is more of the specialness. So, but kids being born, yeah, I think there's something different about it. I agree. Your kid being born, to me, too, is more special than marrying another adult.
Yeah, I agree. Especially your first kid being born. Like
Yeah,
this,
the first one.
The other ones, it doesn't feel as special. There's like a weird mix of excitement and being terrified. This is a huge change in your life where you're now responsible for another person.
Don't get me started on the birthday stuff again.
I know. I was also gonna take offense because I'm third born. I'm the youngest child.
Yeah, they don't care
I'm
about you
like,
by then. Yeah.
They don't. I know.
Well,
Yeah.
well, they weren't afraid though because they know the drill.
That's true.
By the time they have 3, they know the drill. They know exactly what to do. With your first one, it's like, this is a big change. It's like a moment you really remember. I think Rocky, though, wasn't there for when Robert was born. I think he was at the hospital. But I think back then they did it old school where like the dad is in the waiting room.
Oh, the good old days. Cigars.
Yeah, smoking a cigar and just bullshitting with other people. And then the baby's born. And now
Yeah.
it's like...
Didn't they used to like knock the mothers out sort of, and then it's here's your baby.
By the late 70s, they weren't really doing that anymore. But my dad was delivered that way. Like my dad was born in the 50s and his mom was asleep for the whole thing, which is really weird.
Sounds fantastic, though. You know, if I were to be having kids, I'd be like, wake me up when it's here.
It sounds like my lovemaking. My wife was asleep for the whole thing.
That's how the baby started. That's how it's going to end.
That's right. She experienced nothing both times. All right. Well, Adonis says, I'm having a baby. He's all excited. And then Rocky's like, I feel like I'm having a baby.
Aw.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm having a baby.
That's a Rocky thing to say, too.
Yeah.
What you doing?
I know.
No, never mind. Just get in here.
Okay.
Like I said, I'll be here if you need me.
All right.
Marianne is there to greet Adonis saying, go in there, be with your wife. That's great. So it seems like everything's okay. You know, she's in delivery or about to have the baby. There doesn't seem to be a state of emergency per se. They really had a missed opportunity here. Marianne and Rocky are about to talk. I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first conversation we've seen them have together?
Yes.
I was trying to think. They didn't talk on the phone before, did they?
She sent the letter.
That's all I
Oh,
remember.
yeah.
This is the first time they're seeing each other and speaking in 45 years.
Well, that's the thing. Are we led to believe they've never spoken since the funeral? Or have they since the events of Creed 1? As Adonis says, I'm wondering if they've at least spoken to each other since the first Creed in the last few years of Adonis being in Rocky's life now. This is the missed opportunities. We don't have any indication because I wanted something that I don't remember the exact words they exchanged here, but I wanted something to kind of be like address the fact that have they spoken since the first Creed? Have they not spoken since the funeral of her husband? This is a big moment here.
I presumed they didn't speak until now. I think that's relatively safe to say because Adonis has been in Philly up until really recently. And for something like this, I can't see Marianne being like, oh, put Rocky on the phone. That seems too weird to me. That seems too hard to believe. I think it's easier to assume that they haven't spoken.
Okay, well, let's watch their actual exchange, and then going with what you said, does their exchange make sense? Or let's find out. I can't quite remember.
You know I'm going to do what I can.
You being here is more than enough.
Wait a minute. They would have spoken. Okay, this wouldn't be their very first time speaking.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Because he was in the house, right? She would have had to greet him at the door.
True.
They would have had to speak a little bit. It's not like this is the first words they've spoken
That was a
ever
missed
since
opportunity then. I wish we saw Rocky come into the
That
home.
scene.
I wonder if that was a cut scene.
I don't think it was.
It was never filmed.
I watched all the deleted scenes. I feel like I would remember it because, to your point, Ryan, about it being a missed opportunity from listening to them making up, what conversation they had, all of that. But also these two people, Sylvester Stallone and Felicia Rashad, sharing screen time. I don't know. I would have loved it.
So I have a theory. So Louise here in our chat says He says, I thought Marianne mentioned that she hadn't spoke to Rocky since Apollo's death. Did she mention that in Creed 2?
Yeah, in Creed 1 it was said.
But I don't think that was mentioned in Creed 2.
Not that I am aware of.
They've had no reason to speak to each other, I think.
I don't know about that because think about it. Adonis is the son of Marianne, plain and simple. Now, Adonis has sought out in the first Creed, he's sought out Rocky, the first Creed. And then the events of the first Creed happened. But then, in theory, 3 years have passed between the films and in their lives, in the marriage. Like, you got to assume Rocky went to the marriage, went to the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just all of the fights, getting him ready to...
Did they actually get married?
No, they're
he
not
proposed.
married.
Oh,
They're not married.
That's right.
Yeah,
he proposed in this. That's right. See, I'm just guessing that they were part of each other's life for 3 years, Adonis and Rocky, and Adonis having a great relationship with his mom and a great relationship with Rocky. I can't imagine the two never spoke or buried the hatchet because their conversation right here, to me, indicates a familiarization already or a burying of the hatchet. It was too, like, I'm going to do everything I can. And she goes, you just being here is all he needs. That's great. Oh, and by the way, you didn't throw the towel for my husband. All right, I'm going to go and see the baby.
We missed the scene when he arrives at the house.
Right.
That would have been a fantastic scene.
If they had spoken in the 3 years, she would have called him and said, look, you need to come here. I think her sending a letter with that thing would be real weird if you have a rapport with someone already. Given that Rocky doesn't want to talk to his own son on the phone because we think that it's been too long and it's too weird, I think that rule would apply in this case too. And there's no evidence they've been over to LA at all. Like, he's been training on the East Coast, and all we know is that he's been staying there for the last 3 years. So I can't see Rocky speaking to her on the phone. That would just be, I know I wouldn't. That'd be real weird. Like, you'd have to kind of have that conversation in person. So like Katie was saying, I think the most likely thing that happened is when Rocky arrived at the house, they had a heart-to-heart and worked things out.
I think so. I think that might be the most logical because Donald does bring up a good point. Rocky struggles to call his own son. No way he's calling Paul's widow.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But what I was getting at, this conversation here that we just witnessed on screen, there's no way this was the first meeting in 30 years. That's all I'm saying. So something had to have happened before this meeting in the hallway at the hospital. Yeah. Rocky's feeling like, he's feeling nostalgic. Adonis is about to have a child being born, so he pulls out his little black book of numbers, and there's Robert 604, which is really interesting, Kyle. Did you know that 604 is actually the area code of Vancouver?
I was just looking that up on my phone right now because there is a few BC area codes. I couldn't remember what Vancouver's was. I know 250 is a BC code, but I didn't know 604 was.
Yeah. So, So I've lived here my whole life, so I knew that 604 is a Vancouver number. So I thought that was a nice little touch by the Proc department, putting in a real area code for Robert.
I love that. To me, that shows that you care when you make the movie. Of course, it has to have the 555 in it.
Yeah, of course.
You have to, or else some weirdo is going to call that number. But
now I'm just going to pause it really quick on the book to see if I can get the other names in there.
He had the ball, right?
Yeah.
Which has been around since the first movie, so that the ball has remained. It's lived all this time.
Oh, I can't make up the other names.
Okay, hold on. There's a 265 area code or 245?
It's like a worn little address book.
Of course, he has an address book.
Yeah, and then it's like worn, like he's carrying it around. So that was also a nice touch.
I wonder if it's the same book he was spelling Del Rio in.
That was a notepad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he actually
so 265 is a Pennsylvania area code.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
So whoever was doing that book did it right.
So he's holding the phone. He's about to call. He's like, I can't do it.
And then the hospital's like, are you calling long distance?
Long distance. I was thinking that
on this phone?
Well, he's probably wondering how do I call international? Do I do one plus the year? Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna stop it there because I think the next scenes coming up are baby stuff. So we'll save that for me and Kyle will talk baby stuff because I know Katie, you got some packing to do. I know you came on a busy night. We do appreciate you joining us before you take off because I think you're going to miss. When are you back again? Remind me, sorry, really quickly.
The 12th?
Oh, yeah.
Which is Saturday.
You're probably going to miss a couple recordings, yeah. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to say to the listeners? Because we're not going to hear from you for a few episodes or a couple episodes.
Hold down the woman's perspective, Melissa.
Yeah, we're counting on you, Melissa.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's awesome doing this with you guys. I really do. I do have a blast, and I really hope you guys. I don't pull you out of your too much. Like it's getting busy. I don't mean to. We're talking actually offline. I'll say this: that we're talking offline, the three of us. It's funny because we actually had a different date set. This is just a behind the scenes here, and it's funny how hard it is to get 80 minutes together with three adults. It's just like 8 out of 7 24-hour periods. We're looking for 80 minutes. That's it. So anyways, but I appreciate you guys taking the times out of your family, your work, your vacations, and all that good stuff. So, and I know our listeners appreciate it too.
It's always a blast with you guys.
Awesome.
So,
and the Discord is all wishing you safe travels.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. All right.
It's a very long journey. I'll need it.
Since you're leaving us, Katie, why don't you take us out?
Ding, ding.
Just